Hello, Audrey here to discuss the content creation tool SymbalooEDU lesson plans, which is different from Symbaloo, which you may be familiar with as a bookmarking app where you can create web mixes of all sorts of resources and share those out, or get web mixes from other people. SymbalooEDU operates in the same sort of interface, but it takes the web mix concept and turns it into a game board that learners can then complete by starting at the beginning of the game board and progressing all the way through all sorts of activities until they reach the end of the lesson. So in those lesson plans, the interface looks a lot like this, where you've got a game board and you can insert all sorts of content, so articles, videos, documents, embedded games, customized games, anything that you can include a link from an online resource, you can incorporate somehow into the Symbaloo lesson plan. Once you have your path created, students can complete that path at their own pace and in their own way, so you can give them different options on the path, and if they answer questions incorrectly, you can direct them back to other learning activities so they can try again before they progress moving forward. While students are on the lesson plan, completing your lesson plan, the teacher gets real-time feedback on which students are working through their lesson plan, how far they are along as far as progress goes, what their elapsed time is, which step they are on your lesson plan, as well as if you've embedded any questions, whether or not they've scored those questions correctly. And then finally, with Symbaloo lesson plan, this is kind of neat. There's also the availability to access other teachers' lessons out in the marketplace, and you can access those lessons for free, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel if there's already a good training product that has been produced that is out there. Finally, teachers can take their lesson plans and embed them with a PIN code, and they can set a time limit on their lesson plan, so you can limit your participants just to the students in your class. And Symbaloo lesson plan are supported by how-to tutorial videos, as well as a step-by-step guided lesson plan that'll guide you through creating your first lesson plan. So when you go to the lesson plans, you click on the board and you can edit from there. I'm going to go in and show you what a particular tile looks like. Title, description, web content, whatever that content is, feedback question, and then you hit save. And once you're all the way through, you can assign and start tracking. You can preview it, and I'll show you that really quick. Obviously, this would be a longer game board for a more involved lesson, but you can see that the learner starts at the beginning. They hit the start button. When they get to the end, it will actually record this all the way through for the educator, for the teacher, so that they can see how long a learner spent on each step and whether or not they got their questions right. So I clicked on the start button, and here's the lesson, and there's video. And so a learner can spend time going through this. Obviously, you could add questions or feedback about the video as you go. And then you hit the next button. And then that brings you to the next step along on the lesson, in this case, title, description. So I would give the instruction for students right there. They would go through the course content, provide some feedback or answer some questions, check their answers, and then continued. And in this case, that's the end of my lesson. So you can see that it was a rather short lesson, but you can track all of this information on the teacher end in the dashboard. So thanks for taking a look at SymbalooEDU lesson plans.